Oh my goodness, Scream fans, we have to talk about this right off top. Not only do we have to celebrate for the fact that Scream is #1 this weekend, it already making its budget back of $25 million, ending up making about $36 million, which I know doesn't sound crazy, but for the Scream franchise, that's actually really good and solid. I think that pretty much guarantees we will be getting a sequel, and now something has popped up that lets me know, are they setting something up for Scream 6. Spoilers, if you have not seen the latest Scream movie, a lot of fans are taking screenshots of the moment in the movie that proves Kirby is still out there and alive, and I can understand that. People want the proof and know that it's real, but then people notice the very last video in that screenshot, someone is talking about whether Stu is still alive. I feel like that is the only Easter egg we need to know right now. I have seen it 100 times in my comment section. People want Stu back, and if you bring him back for the next movie, I had to just talk about that real quick because it was something I didn't mention in my spoiler review, but now let's just get into ranking everything involved with the Scream movies. Now, I could have just gone ahead and ranked all 5 of the Scream movies for you, but I feel like it might be very predictable where my ranking will be for this series, so I thought why not go ahead and mix it up and also include a ranking of the opening sequences and a ranking of all the Ghostfaces that have come before. I'll be leaving timestamps in the description so you can skip around to what you'd rather hear about, whether it's me ranking the movies, the openings, or the Ghostfaces. But also at the same time, I'm gonna need you Scream fans to leave me your rankings down below of the movies, the opening, who was your favorite Ghostface. Reminder guys, it's just my opinion and point of view on these movies. Scream 5 kinda was all about fans and how they perceive others' opinions. Don't let my opinion, although it may be different from yours, get you in the mood for some stabbing. I'm still young. Alright, so starting off here, just going ahead and ranking the Scream movies. As a disclaimer, I do want to go ahead and mention with these movies, I don't think there is a bad Scream movie. Every Scream movie that has come before, I think is good in its own way. Some are just way better than others. So with that said, bottom of the list for me will have to be Scream 3. There was a lot I think they did well in Scream 3 with trying to go ahead and bring us on the set of a stab movie, recreate some of those tense moments, but the lack of Sidney Prescott, your main character, because Neve Campbell was hesitant to sign back on, along with this movie just not feeling the same in terms of writing because they got a different writer this time around. Kevin Williamson was not attached. It's a film that also suffers from being a lot less gory and violent because of the circumstances that were happening of that time and turned out being more comedic. I still do like the aspect of Ghostface having a bulletproof vest. The voice changer is even something I'm okay with, but what really solidified it for me was the ending reveal of who was Ghostface and Sidney not even having met this person before the reveal, kind of being the least one to play into the whodunit element. Number 4 on my list, Scream 2. I think Scream 2 does some really amazing things in terms of commentating on a horror sequel. I like the college setting and also how this movie was also a redemption arc for the character of Gale Weathers, who becomes a lot more enjoyable in this one. I guess I'm still just holding a grudge against this movie because they got rid of my boy Randy. That along with me really only liking one of the Ghostfaces in this movie and the other one I could have done without. Number 3 on the list, may surprise you, Scream 5. I needed to watch Scream a second time because I was really mixed on whether I wanted to put this at number 2 or number 3 on my list, and having seen it a second time, it's a movie I really like. I think they really nailed it. Scream is back, baby. But when I do compare it to the other 2 movies I have higher on the list, I do feel it's not as tight and well paced as the rest. The legacy characters in here, aside from Dewey Riley, I also thought they just weren't used to their full effect, but it's still a banger of the movie nonetheless, where I really enjoy the commentary going on here. A lot of these newer characters I am very attached to and can't wait to see the surviving ones in the next movie. This was a film that was made by Scream fans, the Radio Silence team, and you can feel that passion on screen. Number 2 on my list, Scream 4. I will endlessly be a defender of Scream 4, and having even just recently watched it in preparation for Scream 5, it just really let me know how damn good that movie was and ahead of its time. I think the way Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson played on the idea of remakes and reboots, which was something that was taking over Hollywood, with them really having us believe that Jill would end up becoming the new Sidney Prescott, they would pass the torch along, we would have a new franchise with her as the lead, and then maybe letting Sidney, Gale, and Dewey go off into the sunset, all just a huge misdirect, and the movie was really a big F you to remakes and reboots, letting you know you can't replace the originals, you're not going to. Plus how it was so spot on with the talks of social media when this movie came out in 2011, Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven predicting just how far some people are willing to go on social media for a little bit of fame. I think all around it's just the best put together sequel in the Scream franchise. And number 1 on the list, come on now, everybody knows, Scary Movie, the best Scream movie ever made.
What's up?
Nah, jokes aside, of course it's the original Scream film. We still take for granted this first Scream movie and don't realize what it did for the slasher genre. It was dying at the time, nobody was taking horror seriously, and this movie proved you can have smart commentary, you can fool the audience, you can also just have fun with the series and create something that's both thrilling and exciting. If they ever make another Scream movie that is better than this first one, then hey, you end the franchise right there, because that is impossible to do. Moving on now to ranking the opening sequences of a Scream movie, my favorite tradition of the franchise really gets you in the mood for what you're about to see. So starting off here with the bottom of my list, even though it is my favorite sequel out of all the Scream movies, Scream 4 has to be my least favorite opening sequence. I have said it's not really a bad one, but it's just not one I find myself wanting to rewatch. I do think it's clever that it's an opening sequence within an opening sequence. Even the commentary of horror in that time of the early 2000s I thought was well done, but when you actually get to the suspense of Ghostface showing up, him on the phone with this victim, I'm just really not scared for them. I'm not in the moment. If anything, I was feeling like it was another fake out, and then when it ended, I just kind of felt like, okay, I guess this is the movie I'm watching now. Luckily, the rest of the movie was just so amazing, I didn't mind that lackluster opening. Number 4 on my list, the opening of Scream 3. I think a lot of people underestimate how good this opening was with Cotton Weary. Not only was it smart to bring in a character that had been part of the franchise since the first movie, so you already have that built-in attachment there, but it was also nice world building to let you know what some of these characters have been doing outside of the movie. And in this scene with him wanting to cheat on his girlfriend with Ghostface using the voice changer and him racing home, while at the same time you have Ghostface stalking his girlfriend using the voice of Cotton Weary, getting really angry. If that opening scene wasn't so good, I would have hated the voice changer added in Scream 3, but I thought they showed a good dynamic of why it existed in this movie. Number 3 on the list, the opening for Scream 2. Come on, a movie theater setting for the opening of a Scream film? How much more perfect can you get? Not only did they capture the vibe and atmosphere I would love to have when going to watch a horror movie, just all of these fans excited in costumes with glowing knives. It's an area that you should feel safe and happiest in, because it's the area I feel safe and happiest in. But then to see it quickly go south with the boyfriend in the bathroom, and then even with Jada Pinkett Smith's character finally getting stabbed and no one realizing that it's real and they think it's part of the act, really would be a horrifying situation to go in. I just really think that opening is great. But number 2 on the list, the opening for Scream 5. I had to admit, I didn't know what they could do for an opening involved with a new Scream movie that would get me back into feeling, especially with the opening for Scream 4 leaving me a little meh. I'm glad they took it back to basics and they didn't feel the need to go ahead and put us in a real unfamiliar setting, go all out and crazy with some special effects. No, just go back with what made this movie scary, and that's the voice of Roger L. Jackson. His performance in this sequence here, how his voice just goes from sounding like an ordinary person, and then the way he slowly starts transitioning into the menacing voice we know, asking, "What's your favorite scary movie?" making Tara play this game, and then how brutal Ghostface gets whenever he finally attacks Tara. It was a great opening sequence that gave me nostalgia for the first. And well, speaking of the first, nothing will ever beat the opening sequence of Scream 1. I talk about this a lot. Every now and then when I'm just in the horror good mood, I'll go ahead and look up one of the openings from the Scream movies, and I just like watching those first 10 minutes because it's a fun little short horror movie. And the one I find myself always going back to endlessly is the iconic Drew Barrymore scene. We keep taking for granted what this scene did for us. People at the time thought Drew Barrymore was going to be the main character. They thought she was going to survive. Even how they mixed in this horror game and started the whole trick question with the Friday the 13th franchise. It's as iconic as an opening as you're gonna get. Alright, but now moving on to what I think will be the most controversial ranking list of them all, because I can't see all of us having a similar list here, is ranking the Ghostfaces that have come before in all 5 Scream movies. Starting off here with the bottom of the list, I gotta say it, Charlie. I think no matter what our lists look like, I feel like everyone is going to have Charlie at the bottom of the list. Most of the thing that makes me rank these Ghostfaces higher or lower on the list is their performance when they're revealed as Ghostface and their motive behind being it. And really, Charlie barely had a change when he was revealed as Ghostface. He was actually very calm and just going along with everything Jill said. And as far as his motive, he was just someone who loved the stab movies, but also he loved Jill more, that he was willing to go along with his plan. And that feels to me like a weak motive, just doing it for love and then ironically dying with a stab to the heart. You did it to yourself, Charlie. Number 8 on the list, Mrs. Loomis. Now, I've said this, over the years, I've actually grown to really like the Mrs. Loomis reveal and have gotten okay with it in Scream 2, but when I first saw her, I just was not a big fan of that reveal, and I thought it was so ridiculous that they had to explain it away with major weight loss and some plastic surgery. That feels like something out of a soap opera here, and then when you get to her motive, it's just revenge. She just wants to go ahead and go after Sidney because she got rid of his baby boy, Billy Loomis. That stuff aside though, Miss Loomis and her performance once she's revealed as Ghostface is so crazy and manic. I really dig it, especially once she starts getting beaten by Sidney and she's just got this blood all over his face, makeup smeared everywhere. She looks so deranged, and the fact that it's also an homage to Mrs. Voorhees does make it kind of cool. Number 7 on the list, Roman. I really wish I could get more into the Roman character, but he was one of the first Ghostfaces that when he was revealed on screen, the entire third act just kind of felt dull to me. I wasn't that intrigued with his backstory. I also didn't like how they kind of rewrote history and say that he was actually the mastermind all the way back to the first Scream movie, taking that away from Billy and Stu. Even more so that he's so jealous of Sidney and wants the life she had when he ended up becoming this famous director. Seems to be doing pretty alright for himself while Sidney just got a life of being bullied because her mother was sleeping around. I don't think you wanted those yo mama jokes, Roman. Funny enough, even the creators of this new Scream movie have said in an interview that they appreciate Roman and would like to one day tap into that story, and that would be intriguing if they can redeem Roman for me. Number 6 on the list here, Amber. It feels like whenever we have a Scream movie and they reveal the two Ghostfaces, there's always gonna be one that's more interesting than the other and one that's just a lackey. And Amber seems someone that was clearly gonna end up being Ghostface in the movie just because of her attitude throughout the screen, but when she was revealed, there were some cool things along with it. I like that little moment where she's going ahead and holding the knife over Gale and Sidney and making the sound from Psycho. I think also playing into the themes of Scream 5, she's a good representation of the younger fan base in horror and how they grow up with social media, kind of telling point of views on movies. Heck, she even got a really cool death sequence being lit on fire and then still coming back for one last scare. That was pretty awesome. Number 5 on the list, Mickey. I think Mickey is an underrated Ghostface, okay? I really like what Timothy Olyphant did with the character of Mickey. He is one of my favorite performances to see when the reveal of Ghostface happens, because I tell you, there's a switch that happens when the mask comes off and you tell the world you're Ghostface. You start letting your true self come out, and this guy was actually being his false self all throughout the movie, pretending to be a good little college boy when he was actually found by Mrs. Loomis on message boards, actually being a real life serial killer out there who wanted to get caught and blame horror movies. That right there was an interesting motive and a controversial one at the time, where he really thought he would get away with everything if he went to court and actually said that the movies went ahead and made him do this. At the end of it though, he's just high on the list because I love seeing his performance as Ghostface. Number 4 on the list, Richie. I think Richie is going to be one of the Ghostfaces that is going to get crapped on a lot over the coming years, and I understand why, because in the end of the day, he's just a pissed off fanboy who wanted to create his own stab movie. This was also one of the Ghostfaces that a lot of people predicted would come true, and just because of that fact, they're going to go ahead and dismiss him. When honestly, I feel like there was a lot in Scream 5 that he did that made him menacing. The way he was able to trick his girlfriend into thinking her sister was Ghostface, how he put together a situation where he took Tara's inhaler and made them end up at the stew house. But really, it was his conversation at the end of the movie talking about toxic fandom and how he's just countlessly being made fun of for loving these movies so much and wanting them to be praised the way he sees them in his eyes. That much love and passion for a horror movie or a Scream franchise, not to say I would ever stab someone over it, is one I could sympathize with. This man lives and breathes this franchise, and he just wanted to do it justice, even if it meant turning into Ghostface. Number 3 on the list, Jill. I think Jill is such an amazing Ghostface, not only for having the idea for wanting to take over the life of Sidney Prescott, become the new Sidney, create her own remake reboot where the world would then start to revolve around her. She could have stab movies about her, books being written about her, interviews and whatnot, become this internet celebrity is not only such a brilliant motive, and although her reveal as Ghostface and her flip of the switch in the personality can be a little meh, I think she's the perfect example of what I'm talking about, where some of these Ghostfaces after the reveal need to be on screen for a little bit longer than just 5 minutes after we find out they're Ghostface. Because with Jill, we got to see her plan go in action. She thought she won. She thought she got rid of Sidney, so we see her go ahead and start beating herself up, putting herself in a position where she gets the paparazzi even on her, getting to live her dream, and we even extend past that where she has another match with Sydney. Jill, to me, is one of the reasons why I need to see more Ghostfaces live past the 5-minute mark once they're revealed. Number 2 on the list, come on, there's only 2 who could be, so who's gonna be number 2? Billy Loomis. I think Billy Loomis will remain as the most iconic Ghostface for a lot of people, and I think there's good reason for that because the man is this weird anomaly. Yes, his motive is basically revenge and wanting to get back at Sidney Prescott, but at the end of the day, he's also a horror fanatic, but a horror fanatic who respects movies and loves them so much that even when Sidney went ahead and blamed the movies for what he was doing, he got mad and said,
Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative!
And I think that was a great character trait that we have not seen in a lot of these Ghostfaces where they want to be the psychopath, they want to create their own movie, but they're going to respect everything that came before it and honor that. Plus, the way he was revealed with quoting Psycho, oh, that is just always going to be an iconic reveal. But number 1 on the list is, I'm sorry, the man is just the most enjoyable, fun, amazing Ghostface, Stu. Every time I am rewatching the first Scream movie, I am just anticipating the last 10 minutes because I want to see Stu be his crazy Ghostface self. He's the perfect example of when the mask comes off, the Stu comes out. The dude somehow manages to be frightening, hilarious, really just so enjoyable to watch, and I think at the end of the day, the boy has the best motive, because what is the best motive a crazy Ghostface could have out there? Not having a motive, and I think at the end of the day, that is what Stu's motive was. Sure, he joked around and said peer pressure, but really, if someone just asked you, you want to be Ghostface and go stab up some of our friends, and he said yes right away, that's basically you don't have a motive, and that's what some people love about Michael Myers. The man has no motive. Stu has no motive. He was just honestly psycho crazy and was willing to do it because the man had probably always felt that was him inside. But those are just my ranking of the Scream movies, openings, and Ghostfaces. I'd love to hear from you guys down below. Let me know where some of these characters land on your list. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.